This is Jock Doubleday reporting from the beautiful Pedernales River in Pedernales Falls State Park in central Texas. I can't tell you how much fun it is to explore the terrain without the veil of geology. Because then, if we ask the question, is what I'm looking at natural or artificial, we can gather evidence for one theory or the other and then compare that evidence. We can decide which theory, artifice versus coming into existence through natural forces, is the correct theory. It's a lot of fun. That's what science is. Fun in the field or fun in the laboratory, where we're engaging our world without veils over our eyes and our minds. If we consciously, deliberately remove academic veils from our minds, that is, if we stop looking at what we believe and begin looking at what's there in front of our eyes, then we can perform science for future generations. We can leave them a legacy of solid information about the world. So even though the continent builders, the true ancients, piled up this concrete on the outer bend of this river, right, of this right-hand turn, to try to stop the water, slow down the water, right, and they channeled it toward the right instead of hitting that hill on the left. So even though they did that, this river is so powerful that over time it took out the left bank sections that you see in the frame here. So those massive sections that it is extremely doubtful that any machine that we have today could lift those sections, that's the size of the sections that the ancients, the true ancients, were using in their continent building. Massive sections. So that's one section right there. So little by little, even though they created these corrugated channels of really hard concrete on the left bank or in the left side of the river bed, the force of the water still, in this rather sharp turn to the right, still took out these sections. Amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. Let's get close to them. Take a photo for posterity. You don't care if the continents are built? Okay, that's reasonable, because it's the same continents. If you go on a hike, you can still enjoy the beauty in exactly the same way. I mean, I do, and I know they're built. It really is irrelevant to our enjoyment of nature whether the continents are built or came into existence through natural forces. It's still beautiful. It's interesting to me to see that geology has taken us so far afield. Geologists will have to make up mechanisms for every single weird thing they see, because they know, without any doubt, they believe that all of this came into existence through natural forces. So therefore, what is the mechanism for creating all this concrete that's channeling the water to the right? Well, and they'll just make up mechanisms, and then those mechanisms become textbooks. And then you're just reading theories of mechanisms for naturally created crystalline material when their premise is skewed. Their premise is that we're the first advanced race in the universe, the first race to raise our heads above the muck and mire and achieve self-awareness. We're the only ones who could have built the continents in the entire universe. But we know we didn't build the continents. We didn't have the manpower or the reason to. We know they were already here. We know they came into existence through natural forces because we didn't build them and there was no one else to build them. So that's the premise that geologists have when they go out onto the terrain. And that's why they have to make up mechanisms for everything they see. And that's why every single comment on Facebook, when you post a photo of nature, almost every single comment says amazing, because no one can believe that no one can figure out a way that nature made all these various features. They're like, wow, nature's amazing every single time, almost every single time. Amazing. Yeah, it is amazing if nature did that. But all we have to do is look at it to find out nature didn't do that. All we have to do is look at it to know it's concrete, right? I worked with concrete when I was younger, not every day, but I did work with it. And I promise you, this is concrete. That's what it is. And it's really, 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 really hard concrete. The true ancients who built the continents, who laid this material down, right here, this material right here, they laid it down exactly as we see it with the most minor erosion. There's only one place that I see that a rock came out, and it's this spot right here. Otherwise, everything is still intact. Oh, this might have been a rock here. Probably was. All this is still intact though, somehow. Through flooding, endless flooding, it's still intact. Amazing. Really strong. And it looks random and completely natural, except that we know that it isn't, because we know that upstream we found endless signs of construction. So that's only about 3/4 of a mile up, I'd say. So we know that the river course is built. There's a different kind of building upstream. So we know that this is a continuation of the building. They just switched styles. It's a different style of building. Instead of what we call limestone, which is also concrete, but this is what the term concrete is just, is something that we're familiar with to describe this right here. This. Sometimes the true ancients who built the continents from the riverbeds and creek beds up did not use 45-degree angle sectioning. Sometimes they used a corrugated texturing that has no obvious angles. So it's just this really, really bumpy, for lack of a better word, concrete that they laid down. Why is it bumpy? Well, there's a reason. The true ancients didn't just do things randomly. They laid this down exactly the way we see it, with no significant erosion over time, to slow down the powerful river water coming down, because it's a huge river. So when there's water in it, when there's a lot of water in it, it's really, really powerful, and they needed a way to slow down the water to protect their hillsides, because every river bed and every creek bed is a foundation for the hills on either side of it. So they're building foundations for hills that we call rivers and creeks later on. Okay? I just wanted to make that clear, because most riverbeds and creek beds that I've found, the vast majority have 45-degree angle sectioning. 45-degree angle to what? To the flow of the river, or to the line between the hills. The flow of the river and the line between the hills is the same thing. The river is flowing along the line between the hills. So we're still looking at the opposite bank of the Pedernales River, and it's, you know, geology has no explanation whatsoever for vertical-sided sedimentary material. And this material is supposed to be sedimentary, right? It's supposed to be limestone and or gypsum, and yet this is a cube. And there's no natural mechanism for making a straight line and a straight section face in a section of material that's supposed to be sedimentary. Only horizontal lines are reasonable in sedimentary material. Otherwise you have cracks and fractures, right? So anyway, I just wanted to mention, oh, and here's some more massive sections that I really do believe none of our cranes could move. They're absolutely huge, okay? And, right? Absolutely massive. So the flooding of the river took those sections down over time. It lets you know how long it's been since this riverbed was created, and the river banks. And of course the river banks are just foundations for the hill, and the riverbed is the foundation for the river banks. So the riverbed is the foundation for the hill, as all riverbeds and creek beds are. They're foundations for hills. It's one thing. Oh, and here we have some more sections that are vertical sided and relatively smooth faced. So we have sections that are evidence for a theory that is opposed to the geological theory, and nobody cares. So they're just like, let's go swimming. Well, it's fine to go swimming. Absolutely. Let's go swimming in this beautiful spot. We have to understand that this was built to come out of the Rothschild-Rockefeller matrix, which in this case is specifically about the origin of continents. They don't want us to know that all of this was built by advanced races, because they don't want us to know that advanced races exist. They want us to think that we're it. We're the big kahuna. That's it. It's just humanity. Nobody else out there. So that's why the true ancients built the riverbed in the way it's built. They used this highly corrugated concrete material to slow down this powerful river so that these sections wouldn't come out. They don't want their hills to be slowly taken down, because once the hills are taken down, then it's just a mess. Then there's no river course left. It's just a pile of rubble. So they want winding rivers to run. That's what they wanted for the inhabitants of this planet. We just happen to be the inhabitants. Did they know we would be the inhabitants? I don't think they did. I mean, it's a pretty weird and chaotic history on Terra, with lots of advanced races coming here and dropping off life forms from their systems, seeing how they do, experimenting with them, doing genetic engineering with many different life forms, and then eventually adding their advanced genes to our, or to a natural hominid's genes, to their genome. We're just looking at this obvious concrete. I mean, nothing could be more obvious than that this is concrete. And then you just go to the left and go, oh, nature's amazing, making rectangles and cubes for us, right? Gosh, nature, you're so amazing. So on this side of the river, we also have examples of massive blocks coming out from the hillside above because of flooding, right? Also, you'll notice that the side of this concrete section is not perfectly smooth. Let's go here and we can see the roughness, right? So it's not a Grecian or Roman smoothness to this interior face. This was inside of the hill above us. So there was another section right next to this one. Well, why did the true ancients, if they're so smart building continents, why did they make this so rough? Why did they make it a bit corrugated? Well, there's an easy answer. During earthquakes, a rough interior to your sections will mitigate earthquake energy better, because the rough, knobby parts of each section is rubbing against the other section next to it. Instead of sliding past it and falling, it's rubbing and resisting the kinetic energy. So this knobbiness is purposeful, absolutely, definitely, 100% assuredly purposeful, because the true ancients didn't need to just sloppily do anything. They had the ability and the wisdom and the urge to do things exactly the way we now see them, right? So this roughness helped hills and mountains survive earthquakes. And it also created soil, because as these sections are rubbing against each other, they're creating dust. So earthquakes create soil. I hope everyone has a scientific day, and I hope everyone has the chance to get out into nature soon. And it's okay that nature was built. It's okay. It's okay that our continents were built. They were built specifically to create and support a thriving biosphere. So the softer layers, the softer earthquake mitigating layers in hills and mountains around the world were put there not just to mitigate earthquakes. They were put there to create potentized soil, because the minerals in those softer layers are highly sought after minerals in the fertilizer industry today. So we have a beautifully potent soil mass on the planet, because the true ancients who built the continents figured out a way to continually create and revive the soil mass on the planet. If they just dumped a bunch of soil here for us, oh, they'll work it out. Well, that soil would be gone in a few years because the rains would wash it into the sea. So they create a way for rivers to slowly dissolve minerals from the riverbanks, not the riverbeds, but from the riverbanks, and the layers, the softer layers in the riverbanks, to bring specific minerals to the soil that would help plants thrive. And we need plants. Plants are the beginning, you know. So without plants, there'd be no animals. So they created the soil mass so that there could be plants, and then so that there could be animals. And what a wonderful experiment that was. Here we are.